I want to go over the new Toji real quick, but obviously I don't have him in game, so we'll go over him on the wiki, and then I want to talk about the potential for ANNI, seeing that they dropped a hype character like Toji right now, okay? But before we get any further, please black flash that for content, and let's go. Here's his kit, alright? The wiki's like barely updated, so they don't have his art or anything up yet, but real quick, before we get any further, I think he's like a pretty damn good character. I think towards ANNI, I'm not sure if it's worth the summon unless you don't have a proper yellow DPS. If you have like Zone Yuji, for example, you should be able to get by without this guy, but I don't know, if they do yellow characters for ANNI, you know, the whole yellow celebration will be very good, right? But if they're not doing yellow, as what I'm thinking, he'll be an okay pickup. You know, still probably one, like probably the best yellow DPS in the game or close to. But let's see his kit, right? So he has skill 1 Carnage case, and by the way, everything got 0 curse energy because obviously he's the 0 curse energy Zenin guy, right? So his skill 1's gonna be just damage, and then it'll increase his combo count by 2, okay? I want to assume this means 2 per enemy, I think, because it is an AoE. So I want to guess, if say there's like 4 enemies, it'll do 8 counts. I assume that's how it's gonna be. But then if you go into over here, which is his buff, it'll change skill, and that's not gonna change at all, right? So the skill changes happen further down, okay? So skill 2's gonna be Sharpen Fang, okay? And the pre-change effect is a buff, right? So it's gonna be 4 turns of 25% damage don't increase, and the 4 turns of crit hit damage increase by 50, and then he'll get the Sharpen Fang state as well, and that will just change his skill to Pierce, right? So you stack this for 3 turns, you're gonna get 150% crit rate and 75% damage, right? So pretty damn good, you know. He's gonna be AoE, he's gonna be able to like hit some nice numbers. He will do a lot of damage, right? And then his piercing thing is gonna be here, okay? And what this is gonna do is increase break damage by 250% 1 turn 1 time, and then deal 200% melee damage to 1 enemy, and then inflict 1 stack of sting, okay? Which is like Sukuna's lacerations, like his cuts, but I guess the taijutsu Toji version, right? So it's just gonna stack by 20% every count you get. So you will get some nice damage potential like Sukuna with the extra hits. And what's good about them too is that obviously they're not gonna be a type, right? So like how Sukuna's cuts do neutral damage, these will as well, right? So, you know, like you will do some pretty nice damage with this skill. Skill 3 is gonna be just damage to 1 enemy for 3 hits with a combo count increased by 1 as well. So you've got 2 sources of, well, 3 sources of combo count. You have the 2 here per enemy, you have this one, and now this one, okay? And then it doesn't change into anything. And then on the ult, right, you have 1300% melee damage, which is really nice. Some, you know, some big damage there. And also 5 stacks of sting, okay? So if you do like a skill 2, then a skill ult cycle, you get some pretty nice cuts going. And then obviously when each stack is extra 20%, that will do like what? If you have all 5 of these ones only, you'll do like 100% more damage with the cuts. So it's pretty nice. Every 20% is going to go up, more and more damage, right? So as from there, you can see he's like a single target kind of character who's going to obviously put his lacerations on one guy only. I get Sukuna in his domain, it's not everyone, so that could be like a differing factor between the two, but he probably is the closest thing to a yellow Sukuna, right? Do I wish it was another color? I probably would have picked blue, for being honest, but yellow probably needed it as well. It was between yellow or blue, I think, but I guess it makes sense that they don't want to put the other laceration guy on Sukuna, but I thought they could have done this guy differently. Like, I feel like they could have done a little bit more self-buffing, and like, but I can kind of see the laceration route though, so I'm not mad at it or anything. But he has an auto skill as well, so he's gonna get a 20% chance to evade single target attacks, and then he's also gonna recover his HP every turn, and decrease damage received as well. And he'll have guaranteed hit immunity to self as well, and also cannot be targeted by certain skills or statuses. Don't know what those are. And then if his combo count is more than 1, he'll get 29.5% taijutsu for 1 turn, and then that would just stack up to 160% with 30 counts, right? So it will scale up less over time. If you have the 1 count, you get the most out of it. Then every count after that is plus 4.5, right? So if you have 30 counts, they don't leave, which is a good thing. Like, say like who has counts like Mechamaru, for example, they leave, right? But this Toji's counts, as you can see, nowhere in his ult does he remove the count. So he's like a kind of longer content, like tailored character, where you're going to be stacking up lots of, you know, lacerations for a very long time alongside the counts, right? And then once you're at that max count limit, you have max damage, right? And I think he's doing like very good, obviously. I think he's definitely the top yellow unit. If not top, probably equal with like Zone Yuji in terms of damage. I think in this like point in the game though, probably don't summon because ANNI is coming very soon. But I think if you like Toji, summon, because I know there's that argument of like, oh, standard pool and all that. I've mentioned it so many times, but bro, trust me when I say the standard pool characters are like so hard to pull to the point where you might as well summon for them on the banner and they might as well be limited, because this guy won't come to the main pool in like at least half a year, right? And you know, if you like Toji and you don't want to wait, by all means summon, okay? Alrighty, so now I want to go into the potential for ANNI, right? Because they did something which I did not expect, okay? Like Choso, I could see, right? But you know, I fully expected Toji to be an ANNI character, right? And seeing that he's not ANNI, I've got a lot of questions, okay, as to who ANNI will be. The obvious answer is probably going to be Megumi and Sukuna, but keep in mind that on the first ANNI, there are at least 3 characters, okay? It was obviously Zone Yuji, Domain Gojo, and Sukuna, okay? And then that's if you don't even count Miguel, there were technically 4 ANNI characters, right? So I'm thinking, like, what could next ANNI be, okay? So I want to go on this type thing real quick and map out with Toji in mind who everyone could be, alright? So I think obviously yellow, I don't think it's ruled out. Imagine Toji's there, they haven't updated it, but imagine Toji's there, right? Do I think they'll go another yellow character route? I think it's possible. I think Sukuna could easily be yellow. There's already a Yuji of every type, so obviously that won't matter. There's a blue Sukuna, so I can't see him being blue. And then same with green. So it's between red and yellow, right? They can do 2 things. They can either have a yellow Sukuna, because come on, Fuga is definitely going to be ANNI, who's a yellow character, right? Then he'll have the burn effect, because on the tower stages, some of the stages have that burn affliction bonus thing, right? So they can be burned. That means Fuga will burn, and you know, it's coming soon, right? So if he's yellow, you can pair him with Toji, I guess, and have 2 forms of like stack on it, which will be kind of cool. I think Toji and Sukuna will make a lit team anyway. But if not that, I think red is the next most obvious thing. Like, they just released Nanami, who's a slot 3 red support, right? And you know, he was the only red guy in the 1.5 anniversary celebration, right? So that's telling me that they're preparing us for something, right? And Choso wasn't red, you know, this Toji was not red, so I would not be surprised at all if like most of, if not all of the ANNI characters are red, okay? I know we got Domain Gojo for first ANNI, but I think it's very possible, alright? I think Sukuna, for 1, slot 4, you know, Nanami will complement him perfectly. And I think even if they do a Maharaga Megumi as ANNI, he could be red, right? Because he'll fit, like, I guess he could be like a support in the Megumi form. Then assuming he's gonna ult into Maharaga, they could just, you know, sub him out as a DPS from a support, right? He can be a kind of a hybrid character. And that brings me to our next point, okay? Are we sure that Sukuna and Maharaga are even gonna be ANNI, okay? Hear me out, boys, right? Hear me out, okay? For the first ANNI, obviously, right? We got, you know, this, yeah? You know, Yuji, Megumi, and Obara, okay? As you can see there, only Yuji got a character, and then part 2 was Gojo, and that means Gojo was, you know, right here, right? And then he was on the little graphic too, if I can find it. Okay, there. Good enough, okay? Right here, okay? Gojo was there, right? And that's telling me that, you know, if they do an ANNI that's even remotely similar, because they didn't add the skin feature for no reason, boys. They're gonna add more skins for this ANNI, right? And that makes me think, like, what if this ANNI is not what we expect, okay? Do I think Sukuna could get a suit? I think he's very likely. That Fuga art, I think will be too cool to not use, I can't lie. But if they release a tuxedo or some sort of, you know, suit for him. Very possible, I think. I don't know how it could be very different from Yuji's. Maybe it can be like a white suit with a red tie, like something like that, right? And then that brings me to this, okay? That is technically like unused, right? We have a live 2D Megumi like this, right? I can easily see them doing a Maharaga Megumi for part 1, right? And having him as a free skin, okay? The Megumi free skin in the event, that thing right there. They literally already have the file for it and the asset and everything. I mean, you're hearing it from me right now, okay? That is going to be the second ANNI thing. Don't at me, bro. I'm telling you boys right now, Maharaga is going to be first and Sukuna is going to be after, okay? But anyway, okay? Nobara, there's 2. Honestly, don't know what they're going to do with her. Maybe third ANNI or something. I'm not sure. But yeah, like, even if it's, you know, not Sukuna straight away, I think Megumi will be the ANNI character because they're showing us that Toji's releasing now. So there could be anyone, right? Like, they're releasing pretty much pinnacle hype in a random monthly slot, right? Like, I get Toji's like a bit more hype, I guess, but he's releasing now, which is weird, coming off like Choso as well. So ANNI could be literally anything. It could be like another Yuji, bro. We'll never know. But my final predictions, you know, with Toji in mind, is gonna be, I would like some more yellow support, but I think Megumi is gonna be red because there's only not a red Megumi, and he'll have that tuxedo as a skin, which is gonna be free. And then there'll be a Sukuna that releases second with Fuga and a suit. And then I think they might do a Zero rerun again, maybe with a Zero Gojo, possibly. If not a Zero Gojo, maybe a Shibuya Gojo? Like, we don't know, right? But that's all my little yapping for today. If you boys enjoyed, be sure to black flashlight on some content. And I'll see you guys later. Peace.